Hello everyone. It's our pleasure to have with us Dr. Elvin Kerry from one of the renowned international cardiologists from Belgium and Poland. Welcome you sir to WCC 2023.
Thank you.
I just want to ask you, what was your presentation in today's evening?
My task was to speak about the role of a new technique called optical coherence tomography, that is shortly called also OCT, into guiding the procedure and its impact in complex procedure. So what I try to cover into this lecture, and it is a bit difficult to cover everything into just one lecture, but basically what this technique does is that it creates you a very good visibility that is an unprecedented let's say resolution, which makes that you could see a very small vessel of 2 to 3 millimeters and make it as big as a huge TV screen. And then you could see a lot of details into that, including up to very small cells like the macrophages. Once you see and you have all these details, you could say different things from the type of lesion that is there, the amount of calcification, the amount of lipid, the chance that this plaque has to rupture and cause acute coronary syndromes. And by having all this information all together and in a situation that you need or need not to treat, then you could very much say that, as you know, the information helps you to make a better algorithms into treatment of this disease and in the planning of the procedure itself.
So you mean to say that the OCT helps in better visualization of the coronaries, so as to have in complex PCI where we are anticipating it, so to have better visualization of the coronary, so as to have a better therapeutic procedure. So since how many years are you using this OCTs?
I'm using it, if I remember well, I think more than 12, 13 years now.
Okay, that's great. And
let me think, something in 2010 maybe or so I started to use it.
So it's not a new technique for you, as far as I can guess.
It's not a new technique for me, no, but the technique is changing.
And since
you know, there is more and more.
It has evolved.
It has evolved. Basically, not the resolution of it, but how you see the technique in itself just practically makes pictures, creates the picture from the inside of the vessel. Now, pictures is information, and this information you could bring it as a role, and just everybody have to look and interpret for himself or herself. Because you're the women cardiology, so we have to say for herself. Or you get put it onto an algorithm that is already with using artificial intelligence that practically makes your interpretation much easier and the time of interpretation much easy, because it'll tell you yes or no answers. Okay. And once you have that and more of that, then the more sophisticated the machine becomes.
Okay. And do you find any limitations while doing the OCTs? In so many years, no doubt OCT has evolved so much. But in the future, like if you think that there are some limiting factors by doing the OCTs and there are still some uncharted questions that still need to be answered, like in OCTs, if you want that some other refinements in the near future.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question, but it actually is not one question, different questions in one. Because you could think of how can you improve the machine on itself, or you could think, what do I need as imaging outside this machine that this machine technique cannot do, or is it the performance during the PCI? I think that to make things concise and short answer, I think that the machine itself, and what I think, and a lot of groups are working on it, is that we'll improve further on algorithms that will give you more automatic answers. Now the question is, for example, to give you an example, is this a vulnerable plaque or not? And the answer could be yes or no, and that machine could reach to very high levels of answering the plaque.
Yeah.
But then the question is what we do with it.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow we'll need not only a vulnerable plaque that has A, B, 3 parameters, but we'll need a plaque that is complex, that is vulnerable and calcified, let's say, and that will need 4 or 5 parameters to be analyzed. So there is a lot of work into this, but I think that that goes more into not only improving the machine and the algorithms of the machine, but also improving our knowledge of what we do with this information.
Okay.
Because you need information that you can use.
Right.
And so that is a progress, in fact. You have machines that give you information, information gives you knowledge, and then you create other answers. And then once you have that, then you move to the next step. And that's the beauty of having the technology and using it and creating evidence.
Okay. My last question to you is, like, while going for the OCT, what are the indications, like in what conditions you prefer to go first for the OCT and then for the CAVT?
Well, ideally, you do it all the time. Because more you see, more correct. But of course, the more complex the procedure comes, the more are the factors and the more complex the algorithm comes. And then is the unknown factors become important, because then it's where you need precision. In simple lesions, if you want to do it, you can always do it, and it will always give you information that particularly after the procedure, you have done a good job. But the beauty of the imaging is to have the information before that will lead to your strategic therapy, strategic treatments, that you plan very carefully your strategy and that is tailored to the patient. So you give an answer. Let me put it in a simple way for you. It's, let's say, you have not seen the person, but you already bought a suit for this person.
Yeah.
And then once the person tries the suit, then you need to correct it.
Yeah.
But it will be better to see the person before you make a suit, and that's how you is with imaging in intervention.
So it's your preference modality of diagnostic before going for the intervention?
Right now, yes.
Okay. Any interesting case you want to share with us?
Okay, yeah. Well, the second case that I was showing is a very classical example of this. We had a patient presenting with a myocardial infarction, not a severe myocardial infarction,
Right.
It's just light elevation of troponins. We did an angiography, and in our institution works so that the referring cardiologist does himself the angiography, and then he calls the interventional cardiologist to see if there is a need for treatment or not. So this person did the angiography, and he says, I see nothing, there is a little 30-40% here, a little this here.
Okay.
And I said, let's look better to this. I don't trust this so much. And
Okay.
indeed, we did do the imaging. And from the first decision of sending the patient home, we ended up putting 2 long stents in both 2 important arteries,
Right.
because what we saw in OCT was indeed a very dangerous situation
Okay.
that you could not see on angiography.
So with this, thank you so much for being here as a part of WCC 2023. And what was your experience here? Was this your first visit to India?
No, this is not my first visit to India. India is a country that I like quite a lot, but it's the first visit that could not be otherwise, because this is the first woman meeting, the woman cardiology care, and I think it's a great experience. And I see so brilliant, talented cardiologists here in India, and that is I think that I'll be glad to come again and again and contribute to this meeting. And I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me.
So thank you so much, sir, for taking your valuable time and be here, and have a comfortable stay at India.
Thank you.